Cześć. I'm Piotr, co-CEO of Boldare, and you are watching Around the Product Development, a 25-minute series for modern product builders who want to work smarter, not just harder, especially with AI in the mix. In this episode, we are looking at a problem that keeps showing up in almost every engineering team we work with. AI can generate code fast. That is very impressive. What's impressive is when the code actually works and in production, under load, at scale, without breaking 3 sprints later. So here is an uncomfortable truth. Most AI-generated code fails. Most AI-generated code fails not because of AI itself, but because of what happens before the AI is even involved. Vague requirements, missing edge cases, no shared understanding of what done actually means. So the real question is, how do we get AI to write better code? This is not that question, but the real question is, what do we need to before AI writes everything at all, and how does it change everything? Let's dive in. Joining me today, Jakub Walczak, a senior software engineer at Boldare, who's been deep in the trenches of building systems where failure is simply not an option. Jakub has been applying what we call Spec-First engineering, a methodology that puts detailed specification before a single line of code is written. And using Claude code as a core part of that workflow, which is also quite important. Jakub, great to have you here.
Hello, great to be here. Yeah, you already mentioned that we are struggling with unclear requirements, vague prompts, whatever, missing edge cases. So what can we do with that issues that we are struggling with on our daily basis? We could try to, let's say, introduce the spec-driven development.
What is this? What is this spec-driven development? We were joking before. It's like a spec-driven development in Austria. Is it something coming from there?
No, I don't think so. It's more about specifications. So as all of those trending terms, especially in the AI realm, it doesn't have an already established definition, but maybe we can think about it like you already mentioned, I think, that before writing any single line of code, you have to prepare specifications. Instead of trying to put vague prompts for the AI, you need to have a structure of all of the edge cases, all of the business requirements, all of the expected behaviors, and so on and so on. And in order to easily fulfill your goal.
Okay, so this is like a expansion of that, let's say, the most modern idea, shit in, shit out. So the first part should be really well defined, right?
Yes, exactly. So it's the entire spec SDD, I think it's so called. It's more about shifting the focus from the source code, which right now became a kind of final product of the entire workflow, into the spec definition. So in order to fulfill the business needs, first of all, you have to really deeply think about the specifications, all of the edge cases, all of the requirements. And we, as engineers, we have to kind of orchestrate it in order to get satisfying results.
So you mean what exactly do you put into the spec? The 3 elements you mentioned. Anything else?
Yeah, well, so what maybe let's define what a spec is. To be honest, for me, it's kind of everything that could matter while working on a particular feature. So for sure, it's the expected behavior on a business level. Definitely, it's some edge cases, some kind of limitations that we could have known before. What else? Maybe some kind of diagrams of the business flow, for example, in a mermaid format, which is really nicely consumed by the AIs. What else? Mm, I would say we can even add some kind of soft links to the existing source code, but I'm not sure if that's a good idea because with the specifications, I mean, well-defined specifications or well-introduced spec-driven development, the idea is that based on the specifications you prepare, you should be able to, let's say, generate, of course, with the usage of the AI agents, you should be able to get, let's say, deterministic output. Of course, it would differ from one round to another, but in order to fulfill your, let's say, satisfying results, you should expect that the results are really deterministic. So, for example, the tool or the language that we are using is just a technical details, I would say. So based on the specifications, you should achieve your goal, and it doesn't matter if it's written in Java or in Python or whatever else. So in my opinion, specifications is more, let's say, focused on a business value, on behavior, than on the technical details.
Okay, great. So actually, basically, you write a specification for the AI to understand better what the future is and
Yes,
how in a complex systems you would like it to have it done. And
exactly.
so where does Claude code Claude code fits into this workflow? Is it helping to write you the spec?
Yes, definitely. Well, to be honest, you can, of course, be supported by the AI while preparing the specification. So the very first step of the entire workflow, uh, you could, let's say, combine all of those sources that we already mentioned. Maybe you could add something that you remember. Yeah, I was working on it uh, months ago, and it's not written anywhere. So maybe you could write it down, and then uh, agent could help you to prepare more detailed specification that could matter in getting more deterministic results. So that could be basically everything. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I had an opportunity to work in invoicing domain. We had to introduce there one feature. And to be honest, it was kind of black magic for me. I mean, the invoicing domain, I was not working on it for at least a few months, and I had to remind myself what is it exactly about. And the ticket itself, the feature that I had to implement itself was quite simple, I would say. It would took me around 30 minutes to implement it. Of course, then another hour to test it really deeply. And I thought, maybe let's do it in a different way. So then I started, let's say, crafting a Claude skill. I called it Invoicing Expert, which has a really deep understanding of our invoicing domain. Uh, I spent on it like 2, 3, or even 4 hours.
So I
And
believe this is not like a simple, simple invoice with one
yes,
item,
it's
like, okay, give me an iPhone
no, it's not.
invoice, right?
Yes, it's not as simple as that. Uh, you have to really know all the details, all of the different sources of margins, such documents, and so on. Yeah, so I spent few hours on creating this skill, and when I thought, okay, it's done, Then I used this skill to implement my feature, and that was fine. That went great. Everything was as expected. But of course, I mentioned it was pretty easy ticket that I could implement by myself in 30 minutes. And I was lucky enough that 2 days after I created this skill, this Cloud Code skill, that's a really nice feature of the Cloud Code, then we got a complaint from our customers. Let's say like that. It was not a bug, but they reached out to us and said, "Hey, it's not working in a way that we expected. Uh, there must be some kind of discrepancies between the expected behavior and the one that is actually implemented in the code." And yeah, I was lucky enough that it was about the invoicing. So I could use my created beforehand skill in order to find the bug, fix it, and test it. It took around 10 minutes to do it. So it really paid back. So, I spent a few hours before while working on a simple ticket, and then I could use this artifact, let's call it like that, to fix the issue that we were struggling with.
So I assume that your Claude skill was actually preparing a spec for this feature mostly, or how does it refer with a spec?
Well, I would say that the skill itself might be kind of spec.
Okay,
That's
okay,
how
yeah,
that's at
that's
least how I
interesting.
understood it. Because,
Okay,
for example, you have some kind of requirements, business requirements, and then you could orchestrate your skill in order to, let's say, make these specifications a bit better. Maybe it's not a part of the spec, but part of the process of creating a specification.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely skills are something that we broadly use, and I think it's worth to make a full episode about it. But so, for my understanding, having actually a spec and a spec-driven development gives us this ensure us that AI understands how it's going to be implementing the feature the way we want, right? And this is especially important in the big systems. So, that you can do it several ways, and in the big systems, you really have to be in a control, not in order not to come back with something, after let's say this three sprints, right?
Yes, exactly.
And did you have had this kind of moment that okay, you really thought uh like like the one maybe you mentioned, this spec driven really saved my skin. So
mhm.
that was the one you mentioned, but is there anything else that you had some kind of
Well, to this,
revelation that you
yeah.
wouldn't do development any other way since
Mhm.
then?
Well, to be honest, I cannot think about anything else right now, but it's definitely that new approach that I'm experimenting with. And to be honest, I didn't, let's say, write code in a old, good way for already months. I'm trying to adopt the spec-driven development workflow on my daily basis. And all of the recent features that I'm working with are done in this way.
Okay.
But it's hard to judge right now because I'm not doing the same feature twice, once with
Yeah.
the spec driven and once in a old way.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's hard to say for me because I do not have enough, let's say, data to do the comparison between those two approaches.
Okay, so let's go into something that a product owner is thinking about, the tension between spend more time on spec versus spend more time on execution. How do you find this balance with spec driven
Yes.
development? Is it like maybe over engineering, I think?
Well, that's a good question. But using AI agents to help you with the source code and to fulfilling all the requirements might feel like, okay, right now we are using cloud agents, codecs, and so on and so on. Right now we will develop 2 times faster. No, it doesn't work.
Okay.
It doesn't work like that.
Uh,
It doesn't work like that because of the I already mentioned the shift towards clear requirements, clear specification is the case. I mean, we have. I would say that the delivery time of a single feature is a little bit smaller. I mean, we are developing things a little bit faster than it used to be before, but let's say, we spend more time on crafting those specifications than actually working with implementing a single if, single loop in the source code. So what I would like to say about it, um, we have more space to think about all the requirements, all the edge cases, all of the business value that we could review before the actual implementation. And in my opinion, it makes really sense because, for example, we could notice that, hey, it's something is unclear with those requirements, something is missing, or maybe something is totally contradiction with the other points. So we have step in our workflow to think about the entire, let's say, value that we deliver in a single chunk. And we could do that before jumping into the source code. I know developers loves to work with the source code or jump straight into implementation, but with the spec-driven development and with the AI era, it's a bit different, I would say. So yeah, really, you need to invest some time, as I did with my skill. You need to invest some time beforehand, but I'm almost 100% sure that it would pay back in the future.
yeah, and especially, we talk in mission critical systems, right? So
Yes.
you cannot do mistakes, right? Basically, and
Yes.
I think this is quite different than what you do on over the weekend when you're like vibe coding or you're writing app for your grandma, or I don't know, maybe even an app that you're gonna use only one time, right? Because
Yes,
these are the
exactly.
times that you can do it, right? So I think the specs gives you also this one aspect of control, which we mentioned, but also that you can actually you gave this great example that you had this problem with invoices, and because of this specification, I think your colleague from the team who wasn't working on this specific task would be able to solve it if you weren't there, right? So, the specification gives us some more ability to actually work on the product for other colleagues or something which when you are not there, right?
Yes.
So again, it's always good
Mhm.
to have this kind of things.
Yes, definitely. But it comes with some drawbacks.
Yeah.
In order to
Let me
have like,
move out of the sun because
yeah,
it's
sure.
it's getting.
It
Yep.
comes with some drawbacks. I mean,
So
you have,
what are the pitfalls, of AI
yeah,
that
so
that are
maybe
that is integrated into your
I can
engineering
think of
workflow?
two examples. So let's start with the first one. So in order to have deterministic results over the time, you need to maintain those kind of artifacts that you are using. So for example,
Uh,
skill. It shouldn't be, let's say, scoped to technical details because code
mhm.
differs over the time. Code evolves. Some of the
Oh,
some
that's
of the
that's an interesting rule.
some of
Yes,
the
yeah.
single lines have changed and so on and so on. But the business rules, the general business rules, don't change that often. So, in my opinion, skills should be written in a kind of general form, not focus on the technicalities in order that you could use it today or you could use it after 2 months. I was lucky enough with my invoicing skill that it happened 2 days later. So it was kind of fresh state of this skill. It has the recent details, recent knowledge. So that's one of the pitfalls. Um, earlier this week, I read an article which kind of distincts two or three different, let's say, levels of specification-driven development. So the first one is spec-first, when you just create specification, put it to the AI agent, then AI agent generates code for you, and that's it. You review the code, checks if something is okay or not, then modify it by hand, if that's the case. There's a second level, Spec-Insured. So you try to keep the specification with the source code in sync. And I'm somewhere in the middle between
Okay.
those two levels. And there is also a third one, which is called Spec-as-Source, I think it's called. So you don't touch the code at all. You just modify the specifications and ask agents to, I don't know, regenerate the code or fix it for you. Because right now the code is cheap. That's the case.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. And did I get you well? Because you were mentioning skills almost all the time when you were referring to a certain, let's say, a story or feature.
Mhm.
For you, if there is a story, you're like implementing a spec-driven, let's say, methodology through skills, or it was like just one, let's say, special thing that you made two times these skills for
Mhm.
the future.
Yeah, well, it really depends. Really depends.
Okay.
First of all, we have to evaluate whether spec-driven is really for this use case. Because for us, simple features like, for example, notifications, we don't need spec-driven at all because it just, okay, this should be the text of the email sent by this under this conditions, and that's it. We don't
Mhm.
need to have any, let's say, broad specifications, requirements, and so on and so on. When it comes to the actual work that could require some spec-driven development, it depends. In my case of invoicing, I've done it through skills because I really needed something that I could reuse in the future. Because
Okay.
I'm not an invoicing expert at all. I already mentioned that I didn't work in this area for a while. And I needed to have some kind of reference that I could help to my understanding for me, which makes understanding this domain easier for me. That's why I did it in the skills with the skills. But it's not the case. You could use it just like that. I mentioned that skill is kind of a tool that helps you craft, let's say, broader specification. That's how I see it.
Okay.
But you
Thank you.
also you also mentioned about one really you asked me about the pitfalls, and I can think of a really nice
Yeah, go ahead.
maybe not nice but
I
one
always like pitfalls. Go ahead.
yeah one of the issues we experience in our team. So the situation was like that. Uh, we inherited a project, one service, one domain service that's from another team. We took it over and we had to start immediately delivering features in this project. So okay, we had some Jira tickets. I started working with one. Of course, I tried to use spec-driven development. I thought, it looks fine. I, with the AI help, I developed some code. Of course, I reviewed it, and to my understanding, it was pretty well designed, implemented. It fulfilled all of the requirements that I knew. And then I got the code review from a colleague who had an opportunity to participate in workshops with the clients. So, they had deeper knowledge, which was not written anywhere. And I created a merge request on our GitLab, and there were like 40 files modified or something like that, and I got 25 comments out of it. So the ratio is quite high, I would say. Of course, some of those comments were like, maybe let's rename this variable to something else, but at least few of them were really, really serious. I mean, with our assumptions, with our unclear specification, it could, let's say, cause a real harm in our system because it was really, really crucial part of our system. So yeah, that's a perfect example of unclear requirements, which results in getting unclear or maybe clear enough, which was the case of the LLM generated specification that was not working in our enterprise level systems. So yeah, you mentioned already, shit in, shit out. That was the perfect example of this
Yeah.
case.
So still people are needed, right? And the team sport, programming is team sport. So you need to have someone who's covering your back to make less mistakes. Okay,
Yes.
Jakub, thank you very much. Let's close with something actionable. And if somebody watching this wanted to start applying spec first engineering in their team tomorrow, what's the single first step you would recommend?
Yeah, it's really hard to pick just one just one
I'm
step.
sorry, you have to.
Yeah, I have to. I know I didn't have an opportunity to talk about some kind of frameworks that really emerges recent days, recent months. So for example, SpecKit, which is it's still beta, but it's kind of framework which tries to standardize the spec-driven development. That's something that you can have a look at. To be honest, I didn't have opportunity to check it yet, but definitely it's on my list. But I would say that instead of throwing vague prompts to your AI agent, let's spend, I don't know, 30 minutes, 1 hour on crafting more detailed specification and then try to find some gaps, some uncertainty, some kind of edge cases. Then the results you will get from the AI generated code would be much better.
Exactly. And I think you can always play with it, right? Now, in these times,
Always.
playing with AI, it's something we should do
Exactly.
regularly. And sometimes you're being surprised positively, sometimes negatively, but this is how this game is now. Thank you, Jakub. I
Exactly.
learned a lot today. Thank you for being here and sharing uh, this approach with us. And for our viewers, if this got you thinking, we offer a free 30-minute consultation where we look at your actual system and constraints. No hype, just practical guidance. Drop us a line at business@boldare.com. That is business@boldare.com. And let's make your AI-powered engineering a little bit more production ready. Jakub, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you. Enjoy
Yeah, thanks.
the afternoon
Thanks
and
for
cheers, mate.
hosting.
Thank you.
See
Bye bye.
you. Bye.